If you are liking what you are hearing here on the podcast, would you do me a huge favor and go and leave a review for me? Leaving a review helps this podcast reach more listeners like you who want to gain emotional mastery and truly love themselves. It doesn't take long, and I would really appreciate it. Let's jump into this week's episode. The words poured out of me as I sat with my prayer journal writing to God with raw honesty. I penned, I have so much anger and hate in my heart towards this person in my life. I feel like they are hypocritical, unkind, always looking for what's wrong in others, and completely unforgiving. Part of me wants them to experience the consequences of their behavior, just so they understand how hurtful they are. I know it's wrong to feel this way, but I can't help it. They drive me crazy, and I know I harbor contention towards them. As I finished and leaned back in my chair, I braced myself. I was certain God's response would be a sharp rebuke, pointing out all the ways I, too, have been hypocritical, unkind, judgmental, and unforgiving. I wasn't looking forward to the correction I knew was coming. But when I felt his response begin to flow through me and my pen moved across the page, the words were nothing like I expected. Instead of chastisement, I wrote, Yes, that person is unkind, hypocritical, and difficult. They carry many insecurities and have yet to learn how to let them go. I can't force them to change. I was stunned. There was no condemnation, no lecture, just simple acknowledgement of what was true. And almost instantly, something shifted within me. The anger and frustration I'd carried into the prayer dissolved. I didn't receive solutions or strategies for dealing with the situation, yet somehow I felt a profound sense of relief. Hello everyone, I'm Meg Tilton. Welcome to a podcast that is designed to help you access powers that lie within you. A podcast that will help guide you and empower you to know, feel, and most importantly, use all the emotions, experiences, and parts your Heavenly Father has blessed you with in a deep and progressive way. You were sent here for greatness, for a purpose, and your ability to accomplish all you want and need is not outside of you, but in you. This is where I will teach you to use that power in a way that will move you forward like nothing ever has before. I'm thrilled you are here. This is episode 12, Accepting Reality. How could God acknowledge my unkind judgments and frustrations without rebuking me and still leave me feeling better? I realized in that moment that God was teaching me a profound lesson in acceptance. Acceptance of what is, what has been, and what may be. When we embrace reality as it is, much of the emotional turmoil and drama that cloud our thoughts dissipates. What remains is clarity, space to respond rationally, and even love and compassion for the people or situations that challenge us most. God's words offered a perspective shift. Accept who they are and don't make it a problem. The real work isn't in changing them. It's in understanding what their actions and behaviors mean to you. How will you handle it? This simple but profound question shifted my focus from frustration with their behavior to reflection on my own. It reminded me that while I can't control others, I can control how I show up in response to them. Acceptance, after all, isn't about condoning someone else's actions. It's about releasing the grip of resistance and letting ourselves grow through what is. Reality isn't the enemy. It's the gateway to expansion, healing, and ultimately, peace. In that moment, my body immediately relaxed. God wasn't condemning me for feeling the way I did, nor was He telling me I was wrong for my frustration. Instead, He validated my emotions and acknowledged my experience. But as I reflected on His words, I began to see the real issue wasn't the person's flaws themselves. It was my resistance to accepting their existence. I had been caught in a cycle of wishing reality were different. The tension and frustration I felt weren't just about them. They were rooted in my refusal to accept what was. Relief didn't come from trying to change the situation or the person. It came from finally accepting reality as it is. This made me reflect on how often we resist reality, especially when it involves things we don't like. I've noticed that many people, myself included, avoid confrontation or difficult emotions, thinking it will resolve the discomfort. On the surface, this seems noble, like a way to keep the peace. But in truth, avoiding contention or frustration doesn't eliminate it, it just buries it. When we refuse to acknowledge our feelings and accept the situation for what it is, those feelings fester and grow, becoming harder to manage over time. The real work isn't in wishing things were different, but in accepting them exactly as they are. In the Book of Mormon, we read about a Nephite society that, for several years, lived without contention. On the surface, this seems like a utopia. No disagreements, no strife. But they were still human, and after a few years, contention returned. This makes me wonder, was their society truly without differences of opinion during those peaceful years? Or is it possible they found a way to address their differences without allowing contention to take root? To answer this, I believe we need to look at what contention really is. Contention isn't merely disagreement or conflict. It's an emotional response. It's the unresolved feelings of frustration, resentment, or anger that arise when those disagreements aren't acknowledged or addressed. When I told God I had contention in my heart towards this person, He didn't dismiss or deny my emotions. He didn't tell me I was wrong to feel that way. Instead, He validated my experience. That validation wasn't about excusing the person's behavior. It was about helping me see that my feelings were real and deserved acknowledgement. The turning point came when I stopped resisting reality. God wasn't asking me to change the person or the situation. He was asking me to accept it, to see the flaws for what they were, to acknowledge my emotions without judgment, and to let go of the need to fix what I couldn't control. This is the power of accepting reality. When we stop resisting and start embracing what is, we find relief. We let go of the drama, resentment, and frustration that come from wishing things were different. Acceptance doesn't mean we condone hurtful behavior or give up on improvement. It means we stop making reality the enemy. And when we stop fighting reality, we create space for something far more valuable: clarity, peace, and the ability to respond with love and compassion. It's in this space that true growth and healing happen, not by changing others or the world around us, but by changing how we see and accept what is. Accepting what is not only brings peace, but also opens the door to recognizing the good in others, their gifts, talents, and unique contributions. The person I had been praying about once told me they wished I were more like someone else we both knew. While I agree that this other person possesses many admirable qualities, their desire for me to emulate someone else created a wall. By focusing so intently on what I lacked, they were unable to see and appreciate the qualities I already bring to the table. They missed the opportunity to acknowledge my strengths and collaborate in ways that could have created something truly amazing. Acceptance invites us to shift our perspective, not to dwell on what's missing, but to value and utilize what's already there. When we stop resisting reality and embrace it, we can see others more clearly, accepting their strengths and working together in meaningful ways. In the Book of Mormon, Nephi and his brothers were given the same assignment: to retrieve the brass plates from Laban. Yet their responses to this task couldn't have been more different. Nephi accepted the assignment fully, determined to carry it out no matter the challenges, while his brothers focused on the obstacles, doubting their ability to achieve the goal. Nephi's approach is significant. He never questioned the reality of the task, that the brass plates needed to be acquired or that God had commanded them to do it. Even after several failed attempts, Nephi's faith and acceptance of the task never wavered. What's equally noteworthy is his acceptance of this uncertainty surrounding how they were supposed to accomplish it. Nephi embraced both the commandment to get the plates and the inherent difficulty of the task, holding space for both truths simultaneously. This acceptance became the key to his eventual success. By acknowledging the reality of the situation without resisting it, Nephi remained open to possibilities. The solution came in an unexpected way, likely far different from how he initially imagined it, but it was his willingness to accept reality as it was that allowed him to move forward and ultimately succeed. As Byron Katie wisely said, "When you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time." Nephi's story reminds us that acceptance of reality, both the challenges and the commands, is often the gateway to finding solutions and achieving what may initially seem impossible. My husband is one of the most patient and understanding people I know. Much to my occasional frustration, he consistently gives others the benefit of the doubt, always looking for reasons why they may have acted a certain way or why they are the way they are. Early in our marriage, I asked him how he managed to do this so effortlessly. His answer surprised me and honestly made me laugh a little. He said, "I just say to myself, they're crazy. And if I can accept that about them, I can accept the way they're showing up." At first, calling someone crazy might sound harsh, but I knew Greg didn't mean it in a cruel or dismissive way. What he was really acknowledging was an important truth. The version of someone treating him poorly or unkindly likely stemmed from something deeper. While he might not always understand the reasons behind their behavior, accepting that they were acting out of an emotional imbalance allowed him to have more compassion for them. For Greg, crazy simply meant recognizing that something in that person's life or situation was off. Something wasn't aligned as it should be. This perspective helped him respond with greater understanding, love, and acceptance of reality. As I've studied human behavior more, I've realized that crazy often translates to unmanaged emotions taking the wheel. When someone's emotions go unchecked by their spirit and lack the spirit's leadership, they may appear irrational or unpredictable. By accepting this reality instead of resisting it, we open ourselves up to greater compassion, not only for others, but also for ourselves. When we stop trying to change or control others and instead accept them for where they are, we create space for genuine understanding and constructive action. This shift allows us to work with reality rather than against it. Accepting reality in all of its messiness leads only to good things: deeper compassion, greater patience, and the ability to truly help rather than judge. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you step just a little closer to knowing that you are already whole and complete, and that every part of you is loved and enough. You truly do have all the power inside of you to accomplish the work you were sent here to do. Come back next week to learn more and continue to access the power within.